Here we are again with the room and board guilty pleasures deathmatch. Yeah, we're gonna find out which of these games is the guiltiest of them all. These games that are going by my head right now. So we've been doing this room and board deathmatch for a while. If you're interested, check out the playlist, which is linked on Room and Board's YouTube channel, which is what you're watching right now. Congratulations, you made it. And so often we put together games that we love. And so these games are games that we love. There's a lot of gatekeeping that happens in our hobby. People saying, hey, listen, these games are trash. We like to harp upon games that we don't like and say that people are dumb for liking them and that we are the pinnacle of taste and esteem for liking the games that we like. Or as Renee says, some people may have even built an entire YouTube channel based around it, telling you not to get the things that you like. But that isn't this deathmatch. There is some value to these games that are scrolling past my head right now. These are the games that we look back and we think fondly on. And why not think fondly on these fun games and just have some friggin' fun no matter what you're playing? Don't be sticks in the mud, have some fun, but we're gonna figure out which of these could provide the most fun and which are, really truly garbage. And you should ignore everything else that I just said. Oh my goodness. Artie is having a fun time himself playing with a little bag and is going to knock the camera right over. It's okay, he's taken his bag and he's thrown it out of the room, so I think we might be okay as he scampers around. Just these little bean bags. You know what? You could get a fancy cat tree, you could get a fancy bird and a feather, or you could get a little stupid stick in a bean bag. And you know which one Artie's gonna have fun with? That one. So let's find out which is our stupid stick and bean bag right now. Hopefully you've seen the competitors. I gotta tell you, there might be a surprise edition that I love, so stay tuned for that and drop down in the comments below which of these guilty pleasures you think is going to come out on top, which of them you want to win, and which guilty pleasure games that you know are objectively not the greatest, but you can still have a heck of a lot of fun with. That's the goal of this room and board deathmatch. So I'm excited to go through these. And actually, I played a couple of them for the first time throughout the course of this last month. And I'm excited to talk about them because you know what? I think they're pretty good. And one of those things is actually coming up in our first matchup, which is Racco, which I didn't play, versus Skip-Bo, which I did play for the first time, and I played a bunch of it. But let's talk about Racco first. Racco, like many games, the object is to score points. Each round, you will replace cards in your rack so that your numbers are ranked from low to high. You can see 3, 7, 9, 11. You want to bring out the racks and swap your cards. Basically, you'll have like a hand of cards and you put it in your rack and then cards will come up and you want to swap in and out while maximizing your points, right? So there's a little bit of a push your luck. How much do I extend my row? Can I end it quickly? That's the sort of style of the game. Way back in 1956, this was created. And that is a long time ago, almost 70 years. Almost 70 years ago. Similarly, almost 60 years ago, we have Skip-Bo. Skip-Bo is one that I have played. My girlfriend's parents, they had a copy of Skip-Bo, and we used to always play it with her nephew just as like a deck of war, like a regular deck of cards. But that's not this. Skip-Bo is, everybody is dealt, it's like a very slow Dutch blitz. So everybody is dealt a stack of cards, which there's going to be one of those cards kind of face up. And your goal is to get rid of this stack of cards. And so on your turn, you can place a card into the middle. You can place as many cards as you want into the middle as you're creating piles from 1 to 12 in the middle. So in this case, if there was a 1 in the middle, you could put your 2 and your 3 and your 4 down from your hand, but it doesn't matter how much you put down from your hand. The goal is, you can see that sneaky little 5 there. The goal is to get rid of your stack of cards. And so if you're getting cards ready out of your hand and moving them up to enable you to play the cards off of your stack of cards. And then to end your turn, you always put 1 card down in front of you. You can hold up to 4 rows of cards. And just like solitaire, they're locked until you remove the cards that are on top of them. It's a decent little game. I mean, you don't play it like that, but you could. Look how happy the Skip-Bo Zoom edition is. And then anytime you have a Skip-Bo, those are wild cards as well. So you can use those to help clear your stack a little bit better. both of these are like nice cottage card games. Like, play them with your folks, play them with your grandma, play them with people who find Ticket to Ride too complicated and don't have the attention span. Sometimes people just like playing with cards, and that's what this gave us. However, it was a dominant showing for one of them, and I am happy to report that it's Skippo that moves forward in a 26-4 vote. And I should note, off the bat, if you tune into last month, you may have seen an Abacus of Terror. Yeah, I know, it was scary. It scared me back then. The Abacus of Terror was in play each month. We do this voting over on the Discord. So every day we put up 2 games to vote on, and I've created kind of a game within a game within a game. Whatever new rules people want to add in, we add them in, because you know what? It's just a fun time and it's not that serious. But it allows us a framework to talk about games. And so because of that, last month the Abacus of Terror came in. If you missed last month's recap, you can go check that out, of our designer Deathmatch. But in this one, I created a new rule set for the Abacus of Terror, and that is implemented here, and it's not really worth talking about. You know why? Because nobody got it right. They thought that I would add the Abacus of Terror to the game that had the most votes leading? What kind of stupid rule is that? How do you manipulate it to your advantage in that way? Are you kidding me? Get out of here. Everybody who thought that, I've got an Abacus of Terror for you. Anyone believing any of that can uniformly suck it. That's what that abacus stands for. Anyway, it's determined that Skippo is decidedly more guilty. Oh my god, that was loud. That's never happening again. Guiltier than Racco, and moves on into the next round. Next up, we have Talisman versus Wacky Races, the board game. Talisman is actually my friend Matt's. He still owns it. He still loves it. He says it's his guilty pleasure for sure, because all you're doing, it's a very simple game that's relying upon archetypes. This is the revised 4th edition, but the original Talisman came out in 1983. Way back when, and the 4th edition has not added any more rules complexity. It's pretty simple. You start in this outer ring and you choose to go left or you choose to go right, and you figure out what sort of events you're going to encounter trying to work your way into the middle ring and then into the center ring, all the while collecting items and leveling up your characters and just enjoying sort of the fantasy archetype realms which Talisman likes to play with. Wacky Races lets you get into the driver's seat, so to speak, of all of these zany characters. You can play from the Wacky Races cartoon series with Muttley and the Gruesome Twosome and the Slag Brothers and Penelope Pitstop and Peter Perfect. And if you don't know who any of those characters are, well then you must not have watched the Wacky Races cartoon like I didn't. It seems pretty simple. You're going to choose like a little terrain where you're going to move, and then you also are going to figure out where Muttley and Dastardly are going to move, and they're going to have to outmaneuver the traps. Plays in like 15 to 10 minutes. I mean, it seems, all of these games seem like games I would never really be that interested in playing, but if I did play, I would probably have a good time with whoever introduced them to me. And so even though Wacky Races had a good push in the Discord and scooped up some extra votes and some extra die rolls, dies of chaos, those who are undecided throw in a die of chaos, it still was Talisman that moves forward in a 21 to 15 vote. Wacky Races, you are determined not guilty enough. Whack. Okay, great. I wasn't gonna put your ears through that. Moving along, let's move on to Parcheesi versus Rummikub. I say Rummikub, but I bet it's Rummikub. I bet it's a little roomy cub, like the rooms of my house now filled with bear cubs because my family no longer lives there. But let's check out Parcheesi. Parcheesi, which was has a date of 400. Yes, that's the year 400, as in 1600 years ago. I almost said 2000 years ago because I'm thinking of 2024. I'm like, oh yeah, 2024. That means it's 2000 years ahead. No, that's not how math works. And it actually dates back to 4 AD. Parcheesi is, I think is basically trouble. It's basically trouble. You're moving your people around, or sorry, it's one of the two. Basically, you move your pawns around the board back to the home section, and your movement is controlled by dice. And so you can capture each other's pawns, and if you do, they go back to start, and then you have to get into some Parcheesi all over again. Rummikub is very similar, it says, to your Central European card games, which are played with 2 decks of playing cards, including Machiavelli and Vatican. And in fact, it was invented in the 1940s when card playing was outlawed under the communist regime, which I think is really neat. But it's basically Rummy, right? If you've ever played Rummy or Gin Rummy or that sort of card game, it's very similar. You have tiles and you want to be creating either sets. You can see sets of the same number or runs of the same suit, right? You see how that's the same suit value, so it can create a run. And the fact that you have so many tiles to deal with means that the swapping in and out is going to be fast and furious. Vin Diesel's baby. I think that's the next iteration on that one. And this one was pretty lopsided in favor of one of these. I think I would vote for Rummikub as well. I would much rather play that rather than relying on dice. I like Gin Rummy. Gin Rummy is a fun game to play, just as a little card game. And it is Rummikub that takes the vote in an 18-8 vote. Sorry, Parcheesi, not even your elephants could save you. Moving along, we have Unstable Unicorns versus HeroQuest. And both of these, I think, are really emblematic of what this deathmatch is all about. Unstable Unicorns is another funny card game. Well, not really, but yes. It says it's a strategic card game, but it's not going to be that strategic. You start with a baby unicorn in your stable, with over 20 magical unicorns to collect, each with a special power. You want to build your unicorn army as fast as you can or be destroyed by one of your friends. Basically, you're going to have a hand of random cards, and they do random things, and it's a take that fest of last person standing, but this time with a unicorn theme, other than a kittens theme, which we will see later on. It's up against HeroQuest. HeroQuest, which did not do well at all in the large-scale campaign game deathmatch that we had. But it's making a resurgence again in this deathmatch as a guilty pleasure. And I think that's what the resurgence of HeroQuest is and is focused on. It's focused on your nostalgia, right? It's focused on the great times you had as a kid playing HeroQuest before you knew what great games were. Or some might say this is a great game, as it is Milton Bradley's approach to Dungeons and Dragons style adventure game, where one player needs to play as a dungeon master, controlling the action, and the other players play as the adventurers, running through, dungeon crawling, doing whatever a dungeon crawler does, which, depending who you ask, is incredibly varied. You'd think Wacky Races was gonna win it all when I keep twirling my mustache like this, but that's already been out, and one of these is about to go out as well. I didn't know how the votes would go here. I honestly thought that Unstable Unicorns might win, and it was pretty close for a while there, but it is HeroQuest that takes the cake with a 19-12 vote. And so Unstable Unicorns is declared not guilty enough and is ejected from this competition. Moving along to probably my favorite of the list, like potentially legitimately a good game here. It's Dealer's Choice versus Moonshiners of the Apocalypse. Both are in the tens of thousands on Board Game Geek of how much people love them, and that's what I love to see. That's what the deathmatch is all about. I mean, it speaks a little bit more poorly on Moonshiners because it only came out in 2019, but hey, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Dealer's Choice first, which is the wheeling and dealing used cars game where you're trying to buy and sell cars at your lot. However, each person has a different blue book for what all the cars are worth. And so you're trying to buy your own cars at low and, sell them high and get the cars that are actually worth a lot of points and super valuable for you all throughout this sort of bidding game. So you have to buy low, sell high, and it says to play with the max number of players. This actually sounds like a legitimately fun game that I would want to try. However, I think the theme of Moonshiners of the Apocalypse really swayed a lot of people over to it as you're trying in this sort of pick up and deliver game, I think. Nope. Just kidding. This 4X game where you expand, exploit, exterminate, and explore, scavenge for resources, raise distilleries, produce moonshine, and sell it into your saloons to maximize the profits. Because when time is up, only one hero will be able to pay for the ride at a shantytown and win the game. So you're trying to get the most money no matter what, no matter the cost, as you navigate across this apocalyptic wasteland, fighting each other and building saloons and all that sort of stuff. Unfortunately for me and my love for Dealer's Choice, which I think is the best pick out of them all, it is Moonshiners of the Apocalypse that moves forward in an 18-9 vote. Moving along, we have Apples to Apples versus Zombie Dice. Apples to Apples is sort of the classic card game that you know as Cards Against Humanity, which, as you saw, or maybe you didn't, will be appearing later on in this matchup as the buy. But Apples to Apples is sort of pioneered, I feel, 1999, pioneered the get somebody to judge something and really had such success of getting people to use these cards sort of effectively. You'll choose a thing which will feature an adjective like hairy or smarmy, and then other players will secretly choose the thing that relates to it, and then the judge has to pick what's the best. So if you said hairy, you might put Chris's back. No, that would be more Quiplash, which is why Quiplash is just the better iteration of any of these games because you actually get to make up things yourself. Unfortunately, Apples to Apples has rejected my card for the last 13 years, putting Chris's back into all of their copies, which is unfortunate, but what can you do? Anyway, it's against Zombie Dice, where you want to eat as many tasty brains as you can without getting shotgunned. Basically, it's a push your luck dice game where you want to eat the most brains. You're going to roll dice, and brains are good. Shotgun blasts are bad. And if you get 3 shotgun blasts, well, you don't get any points. So when do you stop rolling the dice? Who knows? When does Zombie Dice stop being in this competition? Also, who knows? Because it ends up moving on. Although it was a really close vote, it was tied at one point 13-13, but some extra votes got sent its way. It was leading 13-11 when the votes were called, but I see Apples to Apples has scooped up some votes in the past. It doesn't matter. It is Zombie Dice that did move forward in a 17-11 vote. Goodbye, Apples to Apples. An apple a day keeps the judge away. You're not guilty. Get out of here. Moving along, we have a game that, honestly, this matchup, I think we could see our winner. I don't want to give anything away, but we have Monopoly, the Golden Girls edition, the definitive best edition of Monopoly that exists, other than maybe all those other Monopolies that were on that one Deathmatch. I forget what it was. True Deathmatch fans will remember. Remember it was probably April, because it was April Fools. Maybe it was April Fools? Yeah. The bracket full of Monopoly. Well, Golden Girls won that. Spoiler alert, I ran it myself. I played all the different voters, and we had many great conversations. So if that's not enough, it's also up against Star Wars Return of the Jedi Battle at Sarlacc's Pit, where this is the board, and you're trying to push people off to get the most Jedi Knight points. I mean, come on. How difficult a matchup is this? Should we just move these to the finals already? I don't know. But they got a really tough draw here. Monopoly is your standard Monopoly, right? You roll whatever, but everything is Golden Girls themed, so therefore makes it 20 times better. However, just the fact that you can push villains off into the Sarlacc pit to get Jedi points, and they'll fall down and get gobbled up in there. Like, should we just call it now? It feels like we should just call it now. So it was a valiant effort by the Golden Girls, but I have to say that it is Luke Skywalker who kicks the Golden Girls out of here with a 21-11 vote. Star Wars Return of the Jedi Battle at Sarlacc's Pit is not the longest title we will see in this deathmatch, but it certainly might be one of the most exciting. I guess we'll see as we move on to the other side of the bracket and we take on 2 ordinary games, 2 titans, Risk versus Life. The game of Risk versus the game of Life. I have a line in a rap that I haven't recorded, but it wasn't a board game rap. It was just, another rap for fun, but it was called My Life. And so one of the ending of the verse says, if my life's a game, my outcome's been decided, because I'm killing it and I'm winning it and I'll die 20-sided. It's my life. Which I like, and also because the outcome of life is decided from the moment you begin. And we're not talking about the game of life. We're talking about our own life right now. Here we are together. It was fated that we would be here at this moment. It was fated that we would rise together through the YouTube ranks. Hit like and subscribe. I mean, It'd be nice. Risk it. But you do have to risk it for the biscuit. Risk is a game I played a lot in my youth. Honestly, I played the game of life, I think for the first time, like last year of university. This was before modern board gaming really blew my mind open yet. And so I was playing it on a little app on a bus ride when we were going to Toronto to audition for like agencies and stuff as an actor. And it was a good time. I have to admit, it was a good time. You're going around, you're drawing your event cards, you're making decisions, but not really, because both paths do pretty much the same thing. You're just saying, do I go to college? Oh, nobody cares about college anymore, eh? And we need more hands-on people in the workforce. Should I still go to college? I don't know. But Risk is just such a fun memory from my youth of spending hours. I think I played games of Risk against myself, just downstairs in my basement or locked in the attic when company was over that I wasn't allowed to see. It was nice to have some of my own company and just rolling dice back and forth. I also do remember that I had people over to play board games on my birthday, one birthday, and we played Risk, and I got killed first. And then so I played a GameCube, which was cool because a friend brought it over because I didn't have a GameCube. And then everybody else played Risk for like hours. And that was my birthday. But someone was crowned at the end of that game. So that's really a success for us all. Anyway, Risk is going to win this, right? There's no world in which the game of life can win. It's really not good. Like, it doesn't hold up because it's basically decided. You do a little spin in the middle, but it's just like rolling a dice. Like, there's no... If those rolls and spins are predetermined and could be predetermined, like if you are playing on an app, they technically are kind of predetermined. When you press a button, it's not like you're going to hit the jackpot on the slot machine. You're just going to lose your money. That's what's going to happen. Unless you come to the World Series of Arby's happening in September 24th to 28th, Las Vegas, Horseshoe Casino. Go get your tickets. Hey, I don't care. Did I say that right? The World Shilling of board games. Damn it. One of them. Life did get some love, but war got more. And it's Risk that moves on in a 22-8 vote. Moving along to my good friend Zach's guilty pleasure. It's on the list because of him. It's Hotels. It's a game called Hotels, which used to look like this and has been since re-implemented as Hotel Tycoon. And it's very Monopoly-esque, except you can build entrances to all of your hotels in different places on the board. And so it doesn't matter if somebody gets the giant big hotel. This is how Zach describes it to me. It matters if you build up all the spots with entrances to your like shitty hotel. Zach played this a bunch as a kid, and look at these big minis. Move over Foundations of Rome. We can see where you got the idea from. You clearly got it from Hotel Tycoon. It's up against triple Yahtzee, and if you've ever played Yahtzee, well, just triple it. Triples. Normally in Yahtzee, you can roll your dice, you can re-roll up to 3 times, and then you can use that to assign to one of the scoring conditions, right? You can score all your 2s, you can score all your 6s, you can score if you got a full house. And so you're trying to push your luck and get the highest scores. In triple Yahtzee, you do that 3 times, so it makes it longer, and also your third scores are more important than your first ones because, you know why? They're tripled. Triples of the Barracuda. Triples. Triples of the 4 of a kind. Triples.
Who decides
Patrons.
They make the list?
Yeah, but all the patrons submit their lists. We'll vote on the theme, and then the theme will go through, and then I'll say, okay, this is the theme, everybody get your suggestions in, and then I'll pull the list from theirs.
You have to say what
Yeah.
Nobody can meet.
Nobody did consult you. What's your guilty pleasure? Morels? It's a regular pleasure? Oh, that would have been a great one for this list. Oh, that actually would have been a really good game for this list. I can't believe that I missed that. Renee is saying, and I agree that Spy Alley would have been so good for this list.
I'm so mad.
Wow, Spy Alley would have been a real competitor and contender for this list, and it is not in here. Curveball for Spy Alley. I can't believe it. Well, you know what? Next month's theme is going to be? It's games your significant other likes. So maybe Spy Alley can make a...
No, it won't win. It had its moment in the sun.
It really had a chance. Well, okay, Renee wants me to tell you about Spy Alley. We're having a Rumpy break.
Put a vote in the comments if Spy Alley beats out your winner.
Okay, yeah, we'll have a special comment round. We'll talk about Spy Alley. We'll talk about Spy Alley now, and we'll remember at the end if it beats the overall winner. Spy Alley is a game where you roll a dice and you move around. You get Spy Alley is actually a good game. It's pretty fun. You get a code name. You get a nationality. You're the French spy, or you're the German spy, or the Spanish spy, and you know what spy you are, but nobody else knows who you are. And you're going around this board trying to collect the 4 things of your type. So if I'm the German spy right here, you can see that this person has all 4 items of the German spy. And so you'd think that I might be the German spy because all it takes is for me to get all those 4 and get to my consulate, then I win the game. However, on your turn, instead of moving, you can risk it for the biscuit and choose to eliminate someone from the game. I was saying, I'm guessing you're the German spy. And if you're the German spy and I get it right, you're out of the game. I get all of your money. I get all of your items. And then I also get the German spy, who you were, and my own, and I get to choose if I want to remain my own spy or become the German spy. So because of that, you don't want to telegraph who you are. So you can see here, this person's gotten all 4 of the German spy things, but the Russian spy is their actual nationality. So they're hoping people will guess who they are so that they're eliminated. Because if you guess wrong, then you're eliminated from the game as well. And then that person gets to get the benefit of it. It's kind of like very coup-like. However, if you do have people in Spy Alley and somebody lands on this space, you can get a free guess at whoever's in Spy Alley. And so this might be dependent upon the roll of the dice, but you can also collect these move cards where you can then move that number. And so like if you collect them, you can then use them as a little strategically to get to the spots where you need to get if you save them up. Actually a good game. Honestly, better than Triple Yahtzee and Hotels. I would pick Spy Alley any day. But
I feel seen or heard in this relationship.
But looks like I will be having to swap my relationship status card with that of a single status because I forgot to put this in completely. Well, widowed. So no, that's too dark. Well, you know what, Renee? If you wanted this to be in here, you know how you could have gotten Spy Alley in this? Signed up for the Room and Board Patreon. Get your games in the next Deathmatch. And she just closed the door. Okay, let's move along. I didn't tell you who won. It's Triples that takes it home. Triple Yahtzee almost triples the score in an 18-7 vote. We're moving along to our next one. Connect 4 versus Twister, which might as well be Spicify. Honestly, judging by the types of people in the Discord who like extending a Spicify joke, I wouldn't be surprised if Twister also went all the way. Who doesn't want to oil themselves down and limber up? And wait, no, that's not part of the... Well, whenever I played Twister, they told me that I had to be completely covered in oil, and because the mat, right? It's because it's slippery, to make it more slippery on the mat, and wear a little bathing suit too. That's how we played at our household. I'll have to check into that a little bit later. It's up against Connect 4, though, which I legitimately still have a game of Connect 4 in Toronto. I mean, it's got to go because I need the space, and I can't justify having Connect 4, but I bought it on a whim. I forget when I bought it. Maybe I won it somewhere. I bought it for nostalgia purposes, and, if you don't know how to win, it's sometimes entertaining. It's not as entertaining as Letter Drop. Letter Drop is actually a legitimately good game, which uses the foundation of Connect 4, which is also a game that nobody will ever see because, it never came to market. But I've got a prototype, and I like playing it, and you may have seen it in last year's Rabies. Anyway, Connect 4 versus Twister. What would you vote for? I'm curious. Versus Spy Alley. I think Connect 4 will win here, but I would vote for Connect 4, but I am surprised as to the amount of people that didn't vote for Connect 4. Or that didn't vote for Twister, really. However, there was lots of votes for neither of them, and for them both to burn in glorious flames. Once a month, we can burn one offering, and a glorious competitor could emerge from the fire which I wish I could retcon this and say Spy Alley's emerging, you know what I mean? But I can't. We've already voted. These are just the results. And it is not Twister that moves forward, but it is Connect 4 that manages to overcome Twister and the Flames in a 15 to 11 Flames to 4 votes for Twister. It's Connect 4 that moves on. Moving along to Clue versus our longest title yet, Star Trek The Next Generation interactive VCR board game, A Klingon Challenge. Back in 1993 this was made. I own a copy of this game. I love that I have a copy of this game. I don't ever want to give it away, whereas I would give away Connect 4. I would not give away this. It's so, so funny. And I have to give a formal apology to everybody watching that because I have a show in like an hour, 2 hours, I can't fully paint my face in Klingon makeup every time we talk about this game. And I'd like to really sincerely apologize. And so don't worry, at some point in the future of this year, I will put bad Klingon makeup on my face for an unrelated review, and we're just not going to address it. We're just never going to talk about it, but this is the reason why, because I've let you down, myself and Gowron. But actually, some incredible soul, let's move me over here. Oof, well, clearly we've been ignoring that. Some incredible soul created this. It's so good. Honestly, just as like a piece of art, it's so good. Basically, this Klingon, Kavik, has taken... Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Oh, Kavik, give it to me, baby. That's the sultriest Klingon look I've ever seen. Talk about for glory. That's what's up. Kavik has taken over the Enterprise. The Enterprise was docked for some repairs, and Kavik is ready to fly into Klingon space and blow up a bunch of Klingon ships to start an all-out war, killing himself in the process, and you, the stupid little ensigns who are left aboard the ship. And so you have to solve and get the clearance to get into the bridge where Kavik is so you can defeat him while he does various things and stops your tracks and says, stop! Very much like Atmosphere or Nightmare, if you've ever played those. It's so good. Like, it's so good, and I'm so happy it exists. I'm so happy it's still on YouTube as well. VCR board games. Oh my, yes. What is this channel? 62 videos? I'm sorry. We're going down the rabbit hole. Oh, this is just a George of the Jungle. Watch out for that tree music video. You know what? I'll allow it. I'll allow it. Three Stooges had a VCR game. Doorways to Horror. 22 1B Baker Street. Slots. Seems like there's a lot. And then also a little informative video about what is AIDS. So this is the YouTube channel that keeps on giving. Well, VCR board games, we salute you. We do, for giving us our Star Trek The Next Generation interactive VCR board game, a Klingon Challenge. This is the Enterprise prize as you roll around, getting your phasers out and going to various rooms to try to up-level your stats in that hour-long time frame. It's up against Clue, the classic deduction game Clue, which is good. Like, there's a few games that are based upon, like, deduction, these sort of Clue-like deduction systems, and I think Clue really paved a way for a lot of these games. I'd still play Clue now. I played Murder on the Orient Express recently for the first time with my friend and not neighbor, Kara, and it was fun. It felt like Clue, but it felt like Clue with a little bit more deduction. I think where Clue really falters is the fact that you have to roll and move into the various rooms. And so because of that, it sometimes is just harder for someone to get somewhere. However, I think the premise of the deduction feels pretty fun. So I wouldn't be surprised if that did well. And actually, this came down to a tie. No Abacus funny business votes here, just a straight up tie. It was 17 to 17 when the vote was called. But one of these games had a flurry of extra vote support. 5 extra votes were thrown down for, of course, who do you think could garner that many extra votes? Yeah, you know it's Kavik. You know it is. And as Deathmatch rules state, everybody gets 1 extra vote that they can use to push one of their favorites forward in the competition. And if there is a tie, it is the game with the most extra votes, which represents the most passion behind it, that moves on into the next round. And so, of course, it is Star Trek The Next Generation interactive VCR board game, a Klingon Challenge, that does move forward. and takes out Clue, which was a very strong competitor in terms of that older style game. So we're moving on to our next round, Exploding Kittens versus another Star Trek game, Star Trek The 5-Year Mission, which is actually 639 on the charts. I don't know if this qualifies as guilty pleasures. I think some people like this game. You really want to get games that everybody says, oh, that game sucks. And then you're like, but I like it. I could have fun with it. Exploding Kittens is maybe one of those games. Again, it's a kitty-powered version of Russian roulette. You draw cards until someone draws an exploding kitten and loses the game. That's it. Other cards that you draw can let you peek at cards, can let you attack other people, can make you keep drawing cards. It's just a push your luck game, very simple, different from Unstable Unicorns in that this is a little bit more simplistic as well, and just very simple. You're pulling cards. The tension is mounting and easy to play over a few drinks. Star Trek The 5-Year Mission is a little bit more complex. It's a cooperative dice placement game for 3 to 7 players who take on crew members of either the USS Enterprise or the USS Enterprise D. That's Next Generation. And so obviously everybody plays as not Captain Kirk. Get that out of here. Ugh. But ugh, just disgusting. Wesley's the worst. Oh, Wesley's the worst. And I hate that the Shut Up Wesley gif is actually Picard being incorrect and Wesley having the right answer. That just makes it even worse. Why is Wesley the worst? Well, because when you build your whole brand on not being a dick, and like that's your catchphrase, and then you are a dick, and throw your producers under the bus and say, nah, not my fault. Internet, please love me. Well then, but you're going to be placing dice and trying to complete these cards as you get the dice, passing it around. Kind of reminds me of a bit of Fuse as well, if you've played that. You want to get all these alerts cleared, and if you do, you win the game altogether. Unfortunately, this Star Trek does not have Kavak, and so it is not going to win. But you know what does have Kavak, in a sense? The explosions that will happen at the end of the video if you fail to stop Kavak from getting into Klingon space. It's Exploding Kittens that moves on in a 15 to 12 vote. Moving along, we've got Jenga versus World of Warcraft, the board game. Now, one of these has a very complicated rule set, and the other is World of Warcraft. If you've played World of Warcraft online, you might be thinking, I didn't know there was a board game. Why would I want to play this on a tabletop? And judging by all of the reviews, you might be right. But some people love it, and I love it too. I mean, I've never played it, but I love all these games and the guilty pleasures because I'm just a little guilty boy. We know Jenga. Pull out a stack, put it on top. So simple, has created so many iterations, legitimately a fun dexterity game. It is. World of Warcraft, you take on the role of a chivalrous paladin or a wise shaman, a holy priest or a vile warlock, or a vile warbler. You know those bards who didn't quite make it as bards, the warblers? They're just sitting there, drumming their strings like the buskers who yelled at Justin Bieber in Stratford, saying, "This is my corner!" And he's like, all right, I guess I will become an international sensation then. Anyway, it's a team-based fantasy adventure. The Horde and the Alliance factions must compete to be the first to defeat the Invincible Overlord, or failing that, be the last faction standing when it comes to all-out war. Those are some fun minis, though. Like, look at them. That's kind of fun. Oh, geez. Deep in my heart, I knew that these symbols here for the rogue and for the shaman were from World of Warcraft because I've played so much Hearthstone, and like this is actually triggering me because I've once again quit cold turkey, and I need to. They're much safer image to reside on. But just thinking about the classes, I'm like already starting to build a deck in my head, and it's bad. One of the main criticisms about this is that the downtime as an adult and now playing other games, the downtime is incredibly unbearable. But again, it hits home if you like the genre, if you like the world, maybe it might scoop up some votes. However, Jenga, I think, when you think about it, like I think about Jenga, and I think Jenga deserves to be on this list because you're never going to really pull it out. I'm never going to go over to a game night and say, yeah, I brought Jenga. Like, I'm not going to do that. But if somebody had a Jenga thing on a table, and I was walking by and they'd say like, hey, you want to do one? I'm like, yeah, of course I want to do one. And it's fun to just pull out and experiment in that dexterity game. And so I think because of that, That's the reason why Jenga moves forward in a 14-10 vote. Moving along, we are so close. We've got 2 more, and then we're going to really ramp up the speed. I always say that. I really thought this would take a little less time because I didn't really need to explain the games, but I've enjoyed hanging out with you and going down this trip down memory lane. And so let's keep on doing that with Taboo versus Age of Mythology, the board game. I haven't played Age of Mythology. Of course, I've played Taboo. It's very simple. You're going to get a card, and you need to get your team to guess this word, bacon, without saying pig, eat, breakfast, sausage, and eggs. And so I might say it's that steamy stuff that you have at brunch that's kind of crinkly. It's kind of crinkly, and this is bad. It's tasty, it's delicious, it smells delicious, and then hopefully somebody would have said bacon by then. Or I might say, you know those cops? You know, cops, what do we call them in a derogatory word? And then they might say pig, and I'll be like, great, what's inside of that you would snack on, right? Making sure not to say eat as well. And so just stretching it out, and you go through as quickly as you can, and somebody on the other team has a buzzer and will buzz you if you say the wrong word. Age of Mythology is another sort of epic long game for people who love the board game, love the computer game, and not for anybody else. Even though it was produced by Eagle Gryphon Games, are you kidding me? You'll explore the world, you'll gather resources, you'll build structures, you'll recruit armies, and you'll face off against other cultures in epic battles. A big smashy, crashy, face-to-face gameplay with real 3D pieces. Honestly, this looks good. I bet if this got reskinned and got put out again by Eagle Gryphon, people would just buy it. People would just buy it because they'd be like, you know what? It's Eagle Gryphon, and like this is a big war game, and I'm not going to listen to anybody. I'm going to look at the minis and just say, yes, I'm interested, rather than like reading the rulebook and seeing that there's not much there. I can only assume because I didn't read the rulebook. But it doesn't matter because you know what? You know what is Taboo? Letting Taboo move on even 1 iota. And it is the Age of Mythology that manages to keep moving forward in a 16-15 vote. And who knows, maybe it gets through another one. I'll actually tell you something about it. But we've moved on to our last matchup. We have Guess Who versus Bounce Off. And I gotta level with you. This is a place where Bounce Off could exist. And I desperately do want it to exist in this matchup. However, I have received word from the Bounce Off Commission that thanks to all the Deathmatch publicity that they have been getting, sales are through the roof. You're welcome. And also, I feel like this would be a definite win. I feel like this game would definitely win the entire competition because it is that game. It has become that game. And a case could be made that it is the guiltiest of all pleasures. And so you know what, Bounce Off, as the honorable judge, FOMO MD on high, I'm going to sentence you to 1 month in prison for being such a guilty boy. Order in the court, I don't care. I don't care, Bounce Off. You are ejected from the competition. You must withdraw because otherwise this matchup won't be exciting. It won't be. We'll all know that you're going to win, and so we can't include you. However, we must include somebody of an equal status that has the potential to become even greater than Bounce Off ever could. This game is legitimately incredible. And that's Electronic Dream Phone, baby. Have you ever heard of this game? Let me know if you've heard of this game, because I am obsessed with this game. I love this game. I don't own it, but my friend Montana, she better still own it. And if you don't, Montana, I am coming for you. Dream Phone, let me get to the back cover or the description of it. Because yeah, on the back cover of one of these, as I was searching through it, it says, one of the 24 incredible boys really likes you. One of these incredible hunks. Look at them. These are the hunks from the German version. We're going to zoom in. We're not going to even be able to read these. Great picture. I mean, hey, you got us to... It's the same pictures. I'm fairly certain it's the same pictures. Yeah, because I know Steve's there, who looks like he's a Sven at this point. Michael. There was a George. There's no Chris, but there was a George. Is that Guido down there? I hope not. Anyway, one of those incredible hunks has a crush on you. Yes, you. Now you just have to find out who by calling his friends for clues. So it's like Clue, where you're getting clues about certain people. You're like, okay, I'm going to call up Michael. I'm going to call up Dave. And you call up Dave, and Dave will go, hi. he likes most sports, but not soccer. And then you'll go on your little pad here and you'll cross out, okay, he doesn't like soccer. And then you'll look around on the board, this board where all the boys, the cute boys are, this board that brings all the boys to the board. This board right here, you can see, oh, look, this boy, he's at the movie theater and he's holding a baseball. I don't know if he's holding, this guy's holding a popcorn. So somebody say, he loves movies, but not popcorn. And then you'd know that it's not that boy because that boy is holding popcorn. And whatever you're holding, you like. And whatever you don't hold, you hate. That's the rule. You've never touched it in your life. Nobody else on this map has ever eaten a single grain of popcorn ever. And you go through that while calling these boys because they all have a number on it. You get to call on the phone, the actual phone. But you also have these cards that stop you. If I'm calling up a boy, I'm calling up a cute boy, ready to hear about who might like me, my piece of garbage friend over there might throw down a card that says, "Mom's listening, hang up now," and I have to hang up. I have to hang up on my dear Bobby right as he's saying, he likes the gym, but he won't do ain't. You never know. What was he going to say? Anything? He won't drop the soap? I don't know. Anyway, the best part about this game, I guess I have gone off track, but the best part about this game is that if you think about it, only one person around the table can win. And so really, the boy doesn't like you. The boy likes your entire group. And it's only the person who finds out who he is first who gets to go on a date with him. And just thinking about that, think about that being the theme of this Dream Phone marketed back in 1991. These are the types of games we got. That just makes me so happy and it makes me laugh so much. And I think it is so funny. So obviously, Guess Who cannot stand up against the weight of this. Andy and Ashley, who cares? You don't want to get Ashley because she got red hair, and that's the first question you ask in Guess Who. Do you have red hair? Now, Guess Who did get a bump because of the No Rolls Barred video about subjective Guess Who, which I admit I haven't watched, but even just the concept is funny and makes me want to try and make my own video of the same. Anyway, Guess Who I actually played a lot in my youth, and I think it is fun. I think it actually is fun as well, but it cannot topple the glorious nature that is Dream Phone. It's just so good. And if Montana still has a copy, I will borrow it and we will do a playthrough of Electronic Dream Phone. That'll be a Patreon milestone. Maybe that'll be a Patreon exclusive. That would be, no, I can't do it. I can't do exclusive videos. I love y'all too much. However, there was a big push for Guess Who, and it ended up being a tie, 15-15. One of these games got more extra votes than the other. In fact, 2-1 extra votes on this voting. And maybe you could tell by the amount I had to talk about Dream Phone right now, but it's Guess Who that wins the tiebreaker and moves on into the next round. Dream Phone is no more. Dream Phone burns for all eternity, and I cannot tell you how devastated I am that it didn't beat Guess Who. Guess Who better go on a tear from here on out to prove why it's in the matchup, because I don't understand how I don't understand, like, when I chose this to be Bounce Off's replacement, I felt I was just picking the winner as well, or picking like at least a semifinalist, but it's not to be, and it is Dream Phone and all of our conversations with those cute boys that burns for all eternity. So we've made it. We've made it to the round of 16. Our woe is over because we got to keep moving on. Dream Phone does not overcome newer games. Dream Phone dies a deadly death. And we have made it to the last one on our list that we haven't yet talked about. Cards Against Humanity facing off against Skip-Bo. Here's where the tournament stands right now. Those are the ones still in the game. As we whip through it, we're going to figure out who is going to move on to the round of 8, the quarterfinals. Right now, we have Cards Against Humanity versus Skip-Bo. And Cards Against Humanity has to go here. I mean, I personally think Quiplash should kill Cards Against Humanity forever. Everyone should just get Jackbox Party Pack. That's a fun game where you get to use your creativity in the same structure of it. Cards Against Humanity just boils down to, do you have a funny card? I got a funny card. There's some funny words on here that are edgy, and I'm gonna win. Um, but I also recognize that like some people like to play it, and it's better than doing crack cocaine, I guess. Although I don't know. I don't know. I legitimately don't know. It's up against Skippo though, which I think is actually a fun game. I played like 4 or 5 games of this by now. Decent enough to be worthwhile taking out Cards Against Humanity. And throughout the conversation, I know a lot of people wanted Cards Against Humanity to win. We're recognizing that at a point in time, I've played Cards Against Humanity and haven't been the large stick in the mud that I am now, because like that's stupid when you're playing with people who are having fun, right? Like just suck it up and get over it and just like have fun with a group. And so I recognize that. Also, somebody said they had used their extra vote on Dream Phone, and they certainly did not throw it down, and they were upset about it. So there was a huge push to just burn both of these games to the fire, to the pyres, to sacrifice them in the hopes that something new would emerge, or maybe something old. Who knows? So there were 7 votes for Cards Against Humanity. There were 8 votes for Skippo. I don't think Skippo deserves to burn, though. But some people even used their extra votes to make sure that they burned. It was a 15 vote for the Burn It All movement, and it's both Cards Against Humanity and Skippo that are taken out of the competition. What will replace them? I don't know. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. I think you can guess. And it's Candyland. We're going to move on to our next matchup, though, until we find that out. We have Talisman versus Rummikub. One of these is going to move on. Talisman, as we know, the archetype fantasy game. Rummikub, just rummy with tiles because cards were outlawed. And this was very close. I didn't know how this would fall, but I think like mechanically the better game has moved forward here. It is Talisman that does fall out of the competition, and it's Rummikub or Rummikub that moves on into the next round in a 17-13 vote. Over to the next quarter of the bracket, we have HeroQuest versus Moonshiners of the Apocalypse. Now, if we're talking about theme here, HeroQuest is going to dominate. Moonshiners got past dealer's choice on luck alone, and it is now going to be overthrown by a much fiercer competitor with a lot more years of nostalgia to keep it on people's minds and hearts. You know what Moonshiners of the Apocalypse is guilty of? Eliminating dealer's choice, which was a better game, and also guilty of never being loved by me. Goodbye, Moonshiners of the Apocalypse. HeroQuest moves on in a 16-6 vote. Moving along to Zombie Dice versus Star Wars Return of the Jedi battle at Sarlacc's Pit. Do I even need to call this vote? Do you think Zombie Dice even got a single vote? Well, you'd be right. Okay, do you think Zombie Dice even got a second vote? You'd be right on that. I'm not going to keep doing this because they got a lot of votes. They got a lot of votes. But the immersive scene of Sarlacc's Pit, the rich, expansive Star Wars universe, the replayability of the rich strategies you can get by pushing those people over the pit for Jedi points, the interaction, the tactical nature, not to mention, this is your game board. Like, get out of here. It is Sarlacc's Pit that does move forward in a 19-10 vote. Surprising that it wasn't higher for Sarlacc's Pit. As you know, this is still my pick to win, especially with Dream Phone being burnt to a crisp. But now we move on to Risk versus Triple Yahtzee. Didn't we already have this matchup? That's what it feels like. Will triples reign again and reign supreme, or will it be Risk that keeps moving forward as the granddaddy of area control? 1959. Well, this one was close. This one was very close. Honestly, Yahtzee's kind of fun. You know, in both you're chucking dice. At least in Yahtzee, you're like, yeah, we know we're chucking dice. Risk is like, nah, you got this huge strategic warfare strategy, and you're just chucking dice and sitting in Australia and waiting to snipe that one person who's about to die so you can get all the Risk cards so that you can then chain them together to get the extra armies. That's what I realized the last time I played Risk. That's what sank into me. I was like, oh yeah, I really need those extra armies. And then I was able to finally... You know what? I probably didn't even win. I don't think I've ever won a game of Risk in my entire life, and I've played so many of them. I legitimately think I have a 0% win rating, even against myself, because I probably gave up and put it away because it was bedtime. So it was close between these two, but it is Risk and its board and what it kind of stands for that helps push it forward in a 16-12 vote. Sorry, Spy Alley. You're still not in the competition. Moving along to Connect 4 versus Star Trek The Next Generation Interactive VCR Board Game, a Klingon Challenge, Kaplach, as they say. Giktal, as they say. This match is going to be to the death. And as I'm looking at this right now, it looks like the Klingon Star Trek game would have lost. It's Connect 4 that is in the lead, 13-12. However, there were two undecided people who decided to roll the die of fate. And if we asked the die of fate, Nook next, I'm sure it would respond with look. I mean, that's not a number, it's just yes, yes in Klingon. Or if I said to the die of fate, do you think the Star Trek VCR game, a Klingon challenge, should move forward? It would probably say Kak Kekvek. Because it is a good idea, and it is the Star Wars Klingon game that moves forward. Yes, Gowron, you can smile. You can rejoice. Ooh, we're so happy about it. Oh, no, it's not Gowron, it's Kavik. Sorry, I forgot. Same actor, but doesn't matter. We're so happy about it. Connect 4 is destroyed in a 14-13 vote. The Star Trek VCR game moves forward onto the next round. Next up, we have Exploding Kittens versus Jenga. One of these games is going to topple the competition, and the other game is going to explode in its own Picard. That might be something different. That might be a fan fiction. I don't know. But I do know that it's Jenga that does move forward, takes out Exploding Kittens. Sorry, Exploding Kittens, you can't sustain yourself. Jenga moves forward in a 14-8 vote. Moving along now to the Age of Mythology versus Guess Who, which should have been Dream Phone. But people love Guess Who. I blame you, No Rolls Barred. I blame you. I blame you significantly, and I will never forgive you for this. I won't forgive you for this. And so this vote was very close. Age of Mythology was almost able to pull it out, but not a lot of voters turned up this time, probably because both of these games aren't interesting, and it should have been Dream Phone. However, it's Guess Who that moves forward in a 10-9 vote. We are here at the quarterfinals. We're getting started with a resurrection from the flames, but we have to bring in a new competitor to face against Rummikub, and that competitor is not Spy Alley, but Candyland. I think Candyland is a good fit here, because Candyland was my friggin' jam as a kid, because over here, this friggin' candy cane layer, I loved it. It looks so tasty. This was such a tasty, fun game to play in. Sorry, I'm getting a call. Hello? Why, yes. Hey, Gowron. Hey. Oh, sorry, it's not. Is it Bobby? It's Bobby. Hey, Bobby. Hey, how's it going? We didn't incorporate the fan-made expansion for... And if we did, it might have a resurgence? Well, let's get it up on the screen. That's true. We do need to give Chris, Gowron, Jamal, and Gisbert a call. I mean, Jamal's in the main game, let's be clear. And find out who's holding all the popcorn. That's true. Let's make this, in honor of another fallen comrade, let's make this matchup triples. That's right, Dream Phone is back into the competition. It has arisen from the flames. You know why? Because the people who voted for Flames wanted to see it back in, and that was one of their stipulations. Let's go. Can Dream Phone overcome newer games? Or will it be Candyland? Or will it be the solid Rummikub, which has been moving forward at a very consistent, nice pace? Which one is going to take this matchup? Just because it's in doesn't mean that it can not easily be wiped out immediately by the voters, if the voters wanted it to be so. However, the voters did not want it to be so. The voters knew that we needed a little sweet little Dream Phone back in our lives, and it is Dream Phone that does move forward in a dominant 19-11 to 3 vote. Candyland getting 11 of those votes, and Rummikub unfortunately not having enough horny boys in their game to get more than 3 votes. It's Dream Phone that's back in action into the game where it belongs, righting the wrongs, and let's see if it can go all the way. It's certainly going into the semifinals, and it's going to be facing one of these two characters, HeroQuest or Star Wars Return of the Jedi Battle at Sarlacc's Pit. I mean, I know which one I'm voting for, and I know which one is moving... Wait, what's this? What's this? Even with Sarlacc's Pit scooping up a bunch of undecided voters, it's not enough to beat HeroQuest. This isn't even a fake. It's HeroQuest that will be moving forward here. Star Wars Return of the Jedi Battle at Sarlacc's Pit. is out of the competition, and I honestly cannot believe my eyes. Like, look at this thing. Look at this thing. You're gonna be pushing these people off into the pit. I don't want to play HeroQuest now. I want to play this. I want to pretend to be a Jedi Knight and kick people and their guns right out of their hands. But it's not for me to decide. It is the loyal voters who get to make this choice, and they are opting for something that probably mechanically is much more exciting, let's be real, and will give you much more longevity. It doesn't matter. This one's for the memes. However, it is Sarlacc's pit that falls and is devoured in a Wilhelm scream and is out of this competition. It's my first instance of hearing the Wilhelm scream as well, but it's not to be. HeroQuest moves forward into the semifinals in what I think is a huge upset. I really thought Star Wars Return of the Jedi Battle of the Sarlacc's Pit was going to take it, but it is not to be. Let's move along to the other side of the bracket and see if sense or funniness wins over. We have Risk versus Star Trek The Next Generation Interactive VCR Board Game, a Klingons Challenge. Yes, you have to say the full title or it doesn't count. Risk sitting at 24,000, Star Trek sitting at 14,000, has 10,000 spots ahead of it, but does that matter? Kavik wants to know what's going to happen, and I agree. Will it be death? Will it be destruction? Or will it be glory? I don't know. What I do know is Spy Alley still is not a competitor in this matchup. It's Risk versus Star Trek. And so it was a big back and forth. And when I say back and forth, it's just a bunch of Galron for glory memes. But that's what needed to happen for Risk to fall. The honoring the past stops here. We are ready to move boldly going into the future where no man has gone before, looking on expectantly with fear and trepidation. It's Star Trek The Next Generation that moves forward. Risk is out of here. And we move on to see our final semi-finalists. We have two classics. One of these classics will move on, one of these won't. Jenga versus Guess Who. I feel like you got to give it to Jenga here. Jenga is just solid. Really solid. It is a close vote, though. It is 14-13 with Guess Who, and almost stayed at 14-13, but was able to scoop up a bunch of undecided votes. The winner did, and making it a 19-13 for the person who was leading. Okay, fine, I can see how you might have thought that, but you were wrong. It doesn't matter. It is Guess Who that manages to topple the competition. Jenga has gotten too high under its own weight and fell gloriously. Okay, that's an illegal Jenga stack. You shouldn't have. That's the reason. Here, disqualification, murder on the field. This should not be this way, unless, of course, it was pushed that way, and then as you were pulling it, it made a perfect line. I could see that happening maybe, but I don't think that happened. I think this is illegal. Because of that, Jenga, you're out. Guess Who actually makes it into the semifinals. People love Guess Who. People love Guess Who, asking each other, hey, is your character a racist? Does your character look like they've indulged in one too many methamphetamines? Yeah, you know what? Now that I say it out loud, I'm getting on board again with Guess Who. That's very funny. We have our final four, though. We are here at the semifinals. We have Dream Phone versus HeroQuest versus Star Trek The Next Generation versus Guess Who, and nobody's versus Spy Alley because, again, it's not in the competition. But first, we're going to find out our first semifinalist, Dream Phone versus HeroQuest. It is a battle of the funny versus the real. Which is going to take place? Which game do you want to play more with me right now? Is it Dream Phone, where my enthusiasm and excitement will sustain us for years to come? Or is it HeroQuest, where one person just gets to sit and watch the other people having fun and facilitate that fun? Or maybe not. Says, nah, you go into a room. It's filled with orcs. How many orcs? Filled to the brim. 100,000. Like, that doesn't make any sense. It's a 4x4 room. They're really small orcs. You better fight them. I close the door. They burst through the door again and eat your bones. Sorry. That's what the game master decided. And I'm sure that they weren't breaking any rules in HeroQuest. It doesn't matter. HeroQuest has had its day in the sun. And we need to know who our secret crush is. Who out of these four, we've narrowed it down, who out of these four lusty gentlemen are interested in taking you out on a date? That's what we want to know. And we will find out because Dreamphone is moving into the finals. It takes out HeroQuest in a 19-11 vote. When I look back, it's 20-11 now. It doesn't matter. Dreamphone is in the finals up against one of these two, Star Trek The Next Generation or Guess Who. Guess Who took out my darling before. I've grown very attached to this beautiful Klingon face, and I don't want anything horrible to happen to him. I hope nothing horrible does happen. This is a real life representation of how Star Trek the VCR game attacked Guess Who. Shields have failed, but the glory has just begun, baby. Fire! Fire on Guess Who! Set your phasers to love me, because I love you. Well, don't actually do watch this. This is what happens if you don't save the Enterprise. The Enterprise would blow up, but you know what? Then you'd hop into a time warp and you go right back to the very beginning, which shows that your life on this planet and with Kavik is eternal, just like Star Trek's place in this competition. And it is Guess Who that finally falls in a very, very close 16-12 vote. Guess Who is out of here. It has been destroyed by the Klingons, and we are met with two glorious champions. Dreamphone versus Star Trek The Next Generation interactive VCR board game, a Klingon challenge. I'm so happy. I cannot tell you how happy this result makes me. I cannot tell you that I was hoping, you know what, I really thought Sarlacc's Pit would make it. I thought it would be Sarlacc's Pit against Dreamphone here. But this is, I legitimately like both of these games and would play them anytime. I really would. I just think, like, if you want to have, what's the point of playing games, right? A mental challenge, some mental stimulation, puzzles, developing your knowledge. Sometimes you're tired, you know? Sometimes you're a little tired after a hard day's work of Klingoning. Sometimes the world's getting to you with a little bit, with some migraines. And sometimes you just want to shout. Sometimes you just want to shout at your screen. You just want to have something that makes you smile with glee. And honestly, both of these two games make me do that. They really do. They give me this beautiful expression of glee. I want to hear who that horny boy is that only wants me and my friends to fight amongst each other. And when we do, he will then come over. I want to know, you know what? I just solved it. It's Gowron. It was Gowron. It was Gowron the whole time. That makes a lot more sense. It was Gowron the whole time. Wait, it was Gowron the whole time. Was it Gowron the whole time? It's been Gowron this whole time. As I look back now, there's an extra vote for Dreamphone. However, that would have broken the tie. But when the vote was called very, very late. It was a tie between these two. It is a tie. We have a tie vote between these two games, 14-14. Do we have our first RuPaul Drag Race All-Stars 4 winners right here? Honestly, it would be glorious to crown them both, but one of them will win. One of them will win, the one that has garnered the most extra votes over the course of this competition. And that feels a bit unfair because Dreamphone probably had more because it came back, right? It had that renewed passion. However, if you remember way back when I started this video, I said that the first matchup, Star Trek The Next Generation interactive VCR board game and Klingon Challenge, picked up 5 extra votes. There has been passion for the Klingons throughout this entire game. Passion that makes you want to look like this. And so in a tiebreaker, the victory goes to Kavik and the interactive VCR board game. Congratulations, you are our winners. Dreamphone, you are no more. You were unable to close the gap. It was Gowron the whole time. Sorry, it was Kavik the whole time. And you are the winners of this room and board death match. Spy Alley is not better than either of our two semi-finalists. They're not. Spy Alley could have been instead of Guess Who. I think that would have been a good 4. That would have been a great placement for Spy Alley, but it doesn't matter. Star Trek, the interactive VCR board game, a Klingon's Challenge, is the winner. By the skin of their teeth, they beat Clue, they beat Connect 4, they took out Risk, they took out Guess Who, they took out all of these stalwart favorites on the backs of their solid gameplay, and eventually they were able to take out the entire rest of the competition by snuffing out Dreamphone's torch. That is it. Star Trek is our champion. I'm leaving this up here as we do our outro. Thank you so much for watching. I know that one was probably a long one, but I had a lot of fun thinking about all these silly games, and I love what this sort of represents. You know what I mean? I'm coming back so I can be personable and to talk directly to you. I love what this selection represents. It's something that brings you joy. It's something that allows you to have fun, and I think our winner is emblematic of that. If you want to participate in these votings, you can sign up for the Room and Board Patreon down below. It's a couple bucks a month. You won't even notice that you did it. But I also recognize that I am never going to try to get you to spend money that you don't have. I'm all for restraint, and that's why I will always create these recaps afterwards that everybody can participate in a slice of the fun. But if you want to look like this, well, you can sign up for the Room and Board Patreon. As I said earlier, if I kept it in, our next month's bracket is going to be games that your significant other loves the best. Maybe Spy Alley will make an appearance in that one, but probably not. Renee's right. It doesn't have a chance in hell. This was its chance to shine. But we'll see you for that one. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. My name's Chris George. I don't have a catchphrase, but as they say in Klingon, Kapla, Ilsop, Inachtu, Filganal Hol, Dajanalfa. No, I don't. But not yet Wahol. Or, I'm on a website, and that sentence is, my hovercraft is full of eels. A very necessary sentence if you want to survive amongst Klingons. We'll see you in the next one.